the entire world. Okay, we are preparing to go live on YouTube. All right, we are live on YouTube. Let me make sure that we have all of the. Let me send you guys the YouTube link in case you want to share it with people. In case you'd prefer the YouTube viewing experience, I just want to give you guys the option of doing that. The YouTube live link is in the chat, and we should be ready to go on the actual webinar as well. So I think we can go ahead and do that. Sorry guys, I got my caffeine in me a little late, so I'm going a little bit slowly today. Share our screen. That's the example we're going to take a look at in this webinar, and of course, let's make sure we're recording, because other than YouTube, we do want to have a fail-safe to make sure that the webinar is recording, and we are recording now. So let's begin. So welcome everyone to this webinar about how you can improve your website experience using page-specific chatbots. It's been a long time since we've done a product webinar like this, where we drill down into a concept that I think would be useful to our existing users who can use the concepts that we're talking about today to improve the performance of their chatbot, improve the performance of their websites overall. So I'm quite excited about it. And we've got a great example lined up for you guys to show you what it actually looks like to use page-specific chatbots in practice. So without further ado, let's get started. As always, we like to start with intros. I see a lot of familiar faces in the attendee list. So I mean, you guys have all probably heard this before, that you've already heard my spiel before, but for the one or two of you out there who are new to TAR's webinars, I'm Arnav. I am the regular host on these webinars. My job at TARS is essentially to create content just like this webinar, to educate you guys about how you can use chatbots in your marketing stacks, how you can improve your customer experience using conversational tech. And if you are not familiar with TARS, TARS has been around since 2016. This is actually a bit of an old bio. It's changed a little bit. We do help marketers boost their conversion rate using conversational tech, but not just that. We actually help customer support teams automate customer support conversations using chatbots as well. And overall, the underlying mission that we are working towards is to improve the way businesses interact with their customers, regardless of what that context is. So anytime a business is having an interaction with the customer, we ask ourselves, how can we improve that interaction using chatbots? Okay, that's a question we had about YouTube. Just wanted to make sure that I didn't have any questions right off the bat. For this webinar, I'm actually going to keep it short today. I was making the slides. I was reviewing the slides yesterday, rather, and I realized that this is the beauty of this topic is that it's super useful for you guys, but it's also super concise. So we're going to keep the webinar short today, and we're going to keep as much time as possible at the end for Q&A and for audience engagement, as we call it in behind the scenes. And in that time, you can pretty much ask us anything. You don't need to ask us about this specific topic. But starting off, we are going to be talking about how chatbots improve the website experience overall. This is just chatbots, not page-specific chatbots. I think that's a good base to work off of, because once we're on the same page, no pun intended over there, but once we're on the same page about how chatbots improve the website experience, then that gives us a good base from which we can move forward and understand how page-specific chatbots can enhance that value even further, which is what we will talk about in the second section. In section 3, we are going to see page-specific chatbots in action. So we have an example of one of our customers who uses page-specific chatbots effectively, and we'll take a look at how they're using it on their website to to achieve some awesome results. And we'll actually see, we pulled out, we've done a case study on this customer before. So we've actually pulled out a quote from their case study, which you can see to understand what sorts of results you can get when you adopt a granular chatbot approach on your website that has page specific chatbots on individual pages on your site. But let's begin with the first section first, how chatbots improve the website experience. And the question that you need to ask yourself going forward to start this section is, when you land on a website, what do you look at first? Modern websites are packed with information. And when I say information, I don't just mean the text on the page. I mean all the points on the web page that you can interact with, that you can look at, you can hear, even that you can interact with to take in some information about the page. So I mean, look at our page, for example. We have a lot of CTAs on the page. There are a lot of places on the page that you can click. There's text in the first fold. There's even the image if you want to take the time to read what's in the message bubbles. But right now the text is a little bit small and we're working to fix that. And of course, there's even more information and more CTAs as you scroll through the page. And I guess the question you need to ask yourself as a prospect is, when you land on a website like this, and this is not odd for websites, it's actually the norm for websites that they have so much information in them. What is the first thing that you do? Because at any given point in time, you likely do not need to interact with all of the information that I just showed, all of these CTAs, all of this text, all of these images, and all of the information below the fold. At the same time, you're probably just looking for one, maybe two, maybe even three things on the website to inform your buying decision, to help you get to the next stage of whatever process you're trying to achieve, whether that's signing up, logging in, learning more about the platform. You don't need all of this information, but we give it to you anyways, because that's how websites are structured. But the unfortunate byproduct of that approach is that modern websites flood users with information, causing information overload. Like I said, when you land on a page, you are at max looking for maybe one, two, or three pieces of information that exist on the page. But as people who develop websites on the other end, we give you all 20 or all 50 different points of information that you could be looking for, even if you don't need the vast majority of them. And the end result is that most people just skim through websites. When they land on a website, the first thing that they do is they don't look at a specific piece of information. They don't look at your H1 tag. They don't look at your H2 tag. They skim the page. Their eyes glance over the page and they try to take in as much information about the overall layout of the page, where information is on the page, what that information is in vague terms, to just get a lay of the land of the page, essentially. And that continues below the fold as well. You surf, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I scroll through a page, I glance over it to glean whatever information I can about the page without actually reading the text that's there, without actually meaningfully engaging with any of the images that are there, especially because most pages have just generic stock images on them. And the end result of that behavior is what you're seeing on your screen right now. You have low information retention because people are not actually reading through the information that you put on your page. One way I like to think about this as a marketer is the amount of time and effort that we spend on the TARS marketing team worrying about the copy that goes on this page is probably disproportionate to the amount of time that the average prospect spends reading that copy. I mean, we deliberate over individual words, whether individual words should be in the copy or not. But in reality, honestly, most prospects who land on the page are probably glancing over it really quickly and won't think twice about whether that word is there or not. And what happens when you have low information retention is that people might not find the information that they need when they're on your website. They might not have the effort, they might not have the patience to be able to scroll through all of those 50 points of information that we give to them to find the three that they need to proceed in the buyer journey. And from a marketer's perspective, that's terrible, because that's a terrible outcome, because it results in high drop-off. When people can't find the information that they want, if they don't think that a product or a service is delivering the value that they are looking for, they are going to drop from the page. If they drop from the page, that is a lost conversion for you. That's your conversion rate going down. And especially if you're running things like ads, if you're running Facebook ads, if you're running Google ads, this has a tangible monetary value associated with it. Each person that drops from your page without sharing their lead information, each person that drops from your page without taking the desired action that you want is wasted money. That's free money that you're giving to Google and Facebook for nothing in return, because you're paying for the click. You're not really paying for the conversion. And that's where chatbots come into the picture. What chatbots essentially do is they serve as an automated customer service rep that can answer questions that your prospect might have about your product or service, capture lead information from them, and offer context. In the context of this webinar, I added another point to this slide. They offer contextual information that customers need to finish the buyer journey. So whatever the customer is looking at on the page, the chatbot can supplement the page by offering contextual information that the customer might need to reach conversion, or to be in a place where they feel secure enough to share their email with you or to hit the buy button. And the way I like to think about it, I'm a big fan of using metaphors to understand the role of software in our marketing stacks. But the metaphor I like to use to understand this value is to think of your chatbots as store attendants to your digital store. So if your website is your digital presence, just like you might have a physical office or a physical branch or a physical store, your website is your digital office or your digital branch or your digital store. And just like in your physical store, if someone walks in, it's not like you just have information plastered on the walls and then a sign-in sheet or a form for people to fill in on their own. You actually have someone there ready to greet people into the store and help them navigate around the store and figure out where the necessary information is and what they should be looking at for their specific needs. A chatbot plays the same role on your website. Think of it like a store attendant. If you want to look for a specific store example, the example that I always use in our blogs is think of the Apple Store. When you walk into an Apple Store, there are a bunch of products around you. There's a bunch of information about those products around you, but even if you browse through them for a little bit, it's not long before someone from the Apple Store staff walks up to you and talks to you about what you are looking for, asks you if they can help you out, and then guides you to the right place in the store and helps you navigate all of the dozens of products that exist and the dozens of pieces of information that exist about each product. So you can think about it in that context. The Apple Store is your website where you have those 50 pieces of information. You have the iPhones, you have the iPads, you have the Macs, you have all of the information cards associated with each one of them out on display. A prospect who walks in is at max looking for only one of those things at any point in time. And the Apple Store attendant or your chatbot is helping them navigate to that specific product, to that specific information that they are looking for. Okay, so think about chatbots in that context. And when you think about chatbots in this context, they essentially serve, I'm realizing this is the second metaphor actually, so you can see that I really enjoy metaphors. When you think about chatbots in that way, essentially what chatbots serve as is an escape hatch for users. So the reason that they're an escape hatch and the reason that delivering the information through a chatbot, delivering this contextual information that can help the user make sense of what's on the page through a chatbot is better than just having it on the page itself is because of the way chatbots interact with customers. Chatbots deliver information in bite-sized chunks that are easily digestible. And what I mean by this is that in any given chatbot interaction, at max, as a user, you are expected to only read a few tweet length messages at any given point in time. On a website, on the other hand, you're loading an entire wall of text that you have to scroll through and trawl through to figure out what information is important to you. In a chatbot, it's very specific. The chatbot sends you a couple of messages at a time. If those messages don't have the information that you want, you drive the conversation forward in the direction that you think will give you the information that you want. And that's the second point that I have over here. Unlike the website where you show all 50 pieces of information at once, in a chatbot, you let the user drive the interaction forward. And because the user is driving the interaction forward, they can drill down to the specific piece of information in the conversational flow that they want to see. So you're not going to show them all 50 pieces of information. You're going to say, hey, how can I help you? They'll say, oh, I need to know this aspect of your products and services. I need to know whether you accept this insurance if you're a healthcare provider. I need to know whether you accept people with this credit score if you're a mortgage broker. And then the chatbot can take you to that specific information or deliver it as message bubbles in the chat itself to provide that specific piece of information, and you don't have to scroll through all of the million other questions that other prospects might have to find that specific information that you want. But with that, I think we have a good sense of how chatbots in general help your website, help improve your website experience. But in this webinar, we are talking about page-specific chatbots. We're not talking about chatbots in general. So now, in this next section, what we're going to do is we're going to understand how, from this base level of value that chatbots offer, we are going to derive even more value by making the chatbots page specific. And a good starting point is to first define what a page specific chatbot is. And essentially what a page specific chatbot is when you create separate chatbots for individual web pages on your site that are contextually aware about what's on those pages. So you can think about it as, I actually have it in the second point over here, you can think about it as chatbots that collect information and deliver information that is specific to their parent page. So whichever page the chatbot is embedded in, it delivers a different set of information based on what's on the page. A good way to think about this is on the TARS website, for example, we have a main chatbot on our main website that delivers information about our company in general. But then when you landed on our webinar site to sign up for this webinar, we had a different chatbot on that page that's specifically catered to people who are interested in a webinar. Instead of booking a demo with us for just learning more about our product, that chatbot helped you reserve a spot for our webinar. So it was contextually aware that you were looking at a webinar page. It was contextually aware about which webinar page you were looking at. And it, instead of trying to make you book a demo, which is sort of a generic call to action that could apply to anyone on any page on our site, that chatbot was aware of what you were doing, what you were looking at, and was able to collect the specific information that it needed to help you complete that specific interaction. And before we actually jump into what this looks like in practice, I think it's worth looking at the advantages of this approach, where you have a separate chatbot for each page that you have. That's contextually aware about what's on that page. And it essentially boils down to three advantages. The first is context-based messaging. So this is what I was just talking about. Depending on what, we talked about the value of chatbots in general. They offer contextual knowledge to the user that can help them navigate the flood of information that websites give them and web pages give them. But the issue is that depending on which web page they are on your site, they are your prospects are in a completely different mind space. They have a different set of questions going through their mind. They need a different set of guidance from you, and your chatbots need to adapt accordingly. So using page specific chatbots, that's chatbots that are specific to individual pages, that have specific customized conversational flows targeted at people who are on individual pages on your website. What you can do is you can deliver that context-based messaging. You can have separate messaging. You can have separate lead generation flows. You can have separate FAQs baked into your chatbot that cater to the specific needs of prospects on that particular website. So the example I just gave, for example, someone on our homepage will have a very different set of queries, a very different set of requirements than someone who's looking at a webinar page. Someone on our homepage might want to book a demo with us to learn more about our product in a one-on-one setting. Someone who's on our webinar page, on the other hand, needs help signing up for the webinar and has questions about the webinar as opposed to the product in general. So by having separate chatbots, having page-specific chatbots, one for the home page and one for the webinar pages, or actually individual chatbots for each of the webinar pages, we can actually deliver that experience. And that's actually, if we want to drill down even further, think about the separate webinar pages we have. We run, this is our 49th webinar so far. Each webinar that we've run has had a completely different topic associated with it. And because they have completely different topics, the set of questions that people might have about the webinar might be different. The audience that we might be targeting with each of those webinars might be different. If we're hosting a webinar about university admissions, how chatbots can be used in university admissions, versus a webinar about how chatbots can be used in the loan origination process for mortgage brokers, Those are completely different target audiences with a completely different set of questions. We want to customize our chatbots to be able to address the specific questions of those target audiences on the specific webinar pages that they land on, so that we're not overloading them with information and we're delivering context-specific information that's actually applicable to the audience that we are talking to. The second value that page-specific chatbots have in this context is lead segmentation. When you have a one-size-fits-all chatbot, when you have one chatbot deployed across your entire website, one of the issues that you can run into is that all of the leads that your chatbot capture just come in through one giant fire hose into your CRM. And it's hard to understand, it's hard to derive insight, it's harder relatively to derive insights from that lead flow. Because it feels, it can, unless you go through the effort of technically implementing it, so it feels like you're just getting a flood of leads and you don't really have any contextual awareness about them. If you do implement page-specific chatbots though, what you can do is, based on which chatbot captured the lead, you can derive insights about those chatbots. So think about it again in the context of our website, right? Someone who shares their lead information with a chatbot on the pricing page versus someone who books a demo or shares information on a blog post are very different prospects that we want to treat differently. Someone on a pricing page is, in the way we look at it, a more high intent prospect who is more likely to close. If they were looking at pricing, that indicates that they are it indicates to us that they're more likely to be at the decision-making stage of the buyer journey. They know that they want to get a chatbot building software, and they just want to check out the pricing to make comparisons. And our sales team needs to know that information. They need to know that contextual information about the prospect to understand how they can adjust their processes to approach that prospect differently from someone who just briefly skimmed over a blog post and might be interested in the product, and just shared their information on the chatbot because they were trying the chatbot out. Very different contexts, very different prospects. They can't be treated differently in the sales. They have to be treated differently in the sales process. And having page-specific chatbots allows that to happen. The third advantage that that page-specific chatbots have, and this is something that I actually spoke to our customer success manager about just yesterday before this webinar. So this is a bit of a last-minute addition, but I think that this is absolutely something that we need to consider when we're talking about a lot of the value that we talk about in these webinars. We often focus on the result. We focus on how many leads you're capturing, how many customer support tickets that you're automating. But another consideration that you have to make is, how easy is it for you to manage a chatbot system? Because regardless of how much value a chatbot gives you, if it's hard for you to maintain, if it's hard for you to manage your chatbot system, you're not going to see much value out of it. Because as we've maintained in all of our previous webinars, the key to running a successful chatbot on your website, on your landing page, is your ability to optimize the chatbot as it interacts with more users and adjust it so that it actually caters to the specific needs of users, the evolving needs of users as they interact with your chatbot. So you need the chatbot to be manageable on the creation side. You need it to be easy to edit the chatbot after you've deployed it. And that's exactly what page-specific chatbots allow you to do. With a one-size-fits-all chatbot, where you have one chatbot across the entire website, what ends up happening is you throw everything in the kitchen sink into the chatbot, and it becomes hard to manage because you have a dozen different lead generation flows that are specific to specific pages. You have a dozen different FAQ trays that are specific to different pages, and it becomes extremely hard to manage where everything is, what you've added to each of the pages. And instead, what you can do is you can compartmentalize each of those functionalities into page-specific chatbots and have a simple navigation parent chatbot on the home page that can direct people to the right page, where a page-specific chatbot is waiting for them, ready to answer context-specific questions and take them through context-specific lead generation flows. But that's enough from me about this. I mean, I think you guys have a good sense of what the end result of this, of making these changes is. If you are able to give context-specific messaging to people, if you are able to segment leads, and if you're able to manage your chatbots better, that makes for a more efficient marketing operation. Delivering content-specific messaging is a tangible improvement to the customer experience for your prospects, and that increases the likelihood of them converting, which again addresses the issues that we were talking about earlier, even further than just a one-size-fits-all chatbot. Similarly, segmenting your leads based on which chatbot captured them, that also, I would argue, improves the customer experience, because when they interact with sales after they've been captured, when they're interacting with you after their lead has been captured, after their information is in your CRM, they're not getting a stock one-size-fits-all experience. You can adjust your processes to their specific requirements, and deliver a more personalized experience to them, which is at the end of the day what good customer service is about. And manageable creation, while it might seem more like a benefit to you and to make your day easier, one way to think about it as translating into the actual outcomes of your marketing efforts is that when your creation is more manageable, when it's easier for you to maintain your chatbots, it is easier for you to optimize your chatbots after the fact. It's easier for you to revisit your chatbots and to make your chatbots better. And as you're able to improve on your chatbots, that improves the likelihood, that increases the likelihood of your chatbots actually converting people, actually engaging people in a meaningful way, and actually solving the questions that they might have. We're actually making really good time on this webinar, so we might be able to look at a couple of examples. We're not even halfway through the session and we're already at the demo section, which I'm quite pleased about. So let's actually take a look at an example of these page-specific chatbots in action. Sorry. The caffeine hasn't fully kicked in yet. But before we do, there are a couple of things that you do need to note about how page-specific chatbots work, about what sorts of results you could expect to see from a system that you're about to see. So how page-specific chatbots work, for example, the page-specific chatbots that we're about to see from the University of California, Irvine. Actually ran this by our customer success manager yesterday, and she told me that this flow was okay. So I feel pretty satisfied in this. A good way to approach making page-specific chatbots is to create a stock chatbot flow that supplements your homepage. So this is something that offers generic information about your company, about your products, about your services for your homepage, because your homepage is sort of a catch-all, that it's a touch point that connects people and diverts people to the specific pages that they are looking for. Similarly, your chatbot can serve a similar purpose. It can offer general information about your company, general information about your products and services, and it can also direct people to the correct pages that they need to go to find the specific information that they need. Once you've done that, once you have that chatbot on your website, what you can do is identify other high traffic pages on your site that serve a specific purpose. So in our example, in the case of our website, for example, I talked about our pricing page. Our pricing page is a high traffic page, and people who land on the pricing page tend to be higher intent than people who land on other pages. So we want to identify that as a page where we make a page specific chatbot. For you, these high traffic pages could be completely different. In B2C context, think about your landing pages. Each of the landing pages that you use in your ad campaigns, they could be targeting a different set of target customers. They could be selling a different product or service in your offering. They could be just catered to different channels. Maybe people who access who click on your ads on Twitter are different than people who click on your ads on Facebook. They might be a completely different profile of people, and you want to send different sorts of messaging to them depending on what their age and demographic information is. So across each of these landing pages, you could have page-specific chatbots that deliver contextual information that's specific to that page, sort of implicit in the term page-specific chatbots. Again, if you have an About Us page, if you have an individual page on your website for specific offerings, as you'll see in the example we're about to look at, you could identify those pages as needing page-specific chatbots. And then what you do is obviously build out the flow for these page-specific chatbots, just like you did for your stock homepage chatbot. And then you use a software like Google Tag Manager to implement to implement those page-specific chatbots on your website. And we actually have. I was thinking, should we actually show you guys how to use Google Tag Manager on this webinar? And then I realized that we actually have 2 super useful tutorials with videos in them that already explain what how you can do this and how you can implement page-specific chatbots on your website using Google Tag Manager. So instead of showing you how that works, I'm going to show you an example of what it looks like in action, and I've shared links to both of the help docs that will help you implement Google Tag Manager and help you actually implement page-specific chatbots on your site. I think in total, the both of the videos take, don't quote me on this, but I think that both of the videos in total will take a maximum of 15 minutes to watch. So do check those out. They are in the chat of the Zoom right now. And you know what? We might actually, I know Abhilash, who is on our marketing team, who handles our emails, is listening to this. Maybe we can send links to both of these help docs out in the email that we send after with the recording, so that you guys have access to it while you are watching the re-recording of this video. And before we actually jump into the example, let's actually take a look at what the result was of using page-specific chatbots. So this is Levi. He's the Director of Marketing and Communications at the University of California, Irvine, Paul Mirage School of Business. They have possibly one of the best chatbot deployments that we have on our platform. So what they have is, as you'll see, they have a main chatbot on the Mirage School of Business webpage, and then they have individual page-specific chatbots that cater to specific master's programs that they offer, offering specific information on those master's programs, answering specific questions about those master's programs, and diverting lead information into specific buckets based on where it was captured on their website, which page it was captured, which master's program the prospect was looking at. And the end result of this, the end result of having these page-specific chatbots on their website is that it's increased their efficiency, actually, because they get thousands of queries from their prospective students, asking them very basic questions about these programs, very repetitive questions about these programs. And as admissions counselors, honestly, they have a million things on their plate. They don't have the ability to respond to all of these queries as quickly as they'd like to be. So what the chatbot does is it essentially takes this off their plate. It automates those conversations so that the admissions counselors themselves do not have to deal with that information, even though it's actually there on their website, on their web pages. Most of the information that people ask about, it's there on their web page, but students don't want to go through the effort of trawling through all of that information to find that specific answer and then have their question answered. Rather, what they ended up doing was they'd actually end up finding they had no problem finding the email ID of the admissions counselor and then emailing them with those questions. But they did have a problem with actually finding the information that they were looking for on the webpage, even though it was there. But using a chatbot, they were actually able to package that information in a way that people actually wanted to read, in a way that people actually wanted to interact with. And then they used that to automate away a good chunk. I think it was about 66% of their email flow coming in was cut back because the chatbots were able to automate those conversations away. But yeah, I mean, I love this use case. It's elegant. It's well executed, as you're going to see in just a minute, and it really gets across the power of using page-specific chatbots on your website. So actually, this is the UCI website in general. Let's just go to the Mirage School of Business website. So this is the actual example that we're looking at. So this is the UCI Paul Mirage School of Business. This is their site. Trying to look for their chatbot. Over here, if we go to their specific master's programs, you will see that they have specific chatbots that pop up. There we go. Okay, so we have, fun fact, the UCI mascot is the anteater. So they've given their chatbot an anteater personality over here, as you can see from this little logo. And we already see the page-specific nature of these chatbots coming through. And the place where you see that is in this call-out message over here. All you need to start a career in finance chat with us to get more information. What page are we looking at? We're looking at the Master of Finance page. So they've even customized the specific callouts that they're giving to prospective students who land on these pages to offer a tailor-made experience that caters to the specific needs of students checking out the Master of Finance page. So over here, it says, thanks for showing interest in our Master of Finance program. Again, this is context-specific information over here. It could have said, hey, welcome to the University of California, Irvine, Mirage School of Business. How can I help you? It could have been a catch-all chatbot that says, oh, I'm a student, I'm a current student, I'm a current professor, I'm a prospective student. And then you have to like drill down into each one of those branches further to find the specific information that you're looking for. You click on I'm a prospective student, then it says, oh, what program are you looking for? Or it just gives you a bunch of generic information about that could apply to any program that you are looking for. But over here, we have a specific chatbot flow that caters to the specific needs of people looking at this particular program over here. And as you can see, we can drill down into each one of these. We can say program curriculum. Over here, it's going to give us a specific set of information about the curriculum of this program. It's not giving us the curriculum of their business analytics program. It's not giving us the curriculum of their MBA programs. It's giving us the curriculum of their Master of Finance programs. And it gives us a redirect to a page where we can find more information about their Master of Finance curriculum right in the chat. So again, this is an example of customized, tailor-made information specific to the page that the prospect is looking at. We can actually jump to another one of their master's programs to see what it looks like on another one of their pages to show you that the chatbot isn't just live on their Master of Finance page. It's actually there across all of their master's pages. So over here, the chatbot appears again. Hi, hey, chat with us today to get course information and apply. Different call out, not specific to the Master of Finance program. Over here, thank you for showing interest in the Master of Science in Business Analytics program. Customized, very similar experience, but the messaging is customized to the specific page that we are looking at. Yes, I need more information about the program. Let's go back to the program curriculum because that's a good point of comparison. We click on program curriculum again over here. I can help you with that. Subjects related to data analytics consists of 13 courses. Most importantly, a capstone project that gives students experience with real life data, and a link that links specifically to the Master of Science in Business Analytics curriculum over here. Another example. So as you can see, across both of these master's pages, I mean, in a sense, the pages serve the exact same purpose, but to a different set of audience. The people who are interested in a Master's of Science in Business Analytics, very different than the people who are interested in a Master's of Science in or a Master's of Finance. They are looking for a different set of information depending on what program they're looking at, and the chatbots are delivering that information to them specific to the page that they are on. And that's pretty much it. That's a page-specific chatbot in action. I've shared the links with you in the chat so that you can learn about how you can actually implement this on your site using Google Tag Manager. But those are page-specific chatbots in action. That's the value of them. They might seem super simple. They might seem like not that big of a change to your website. You're just creating separate chatbots and putting them on separate pages. But you'd be surprised at how many people think that they have to have one chatbot across all of their pages that handles everything. And honestly, I feel like oftentimes it's the simple changes that have the biggest impact, and the more complex, fancy changes like adding NLP or AI that have the least impact when it comes to building chatbots. I'm sure it applies to other technology as well, but specifically when it comes to building chatbots, that's something that we have noticed. But with that, we're about 40 minutes into our session. We have 20 minutes for questions, 20 minutes for you guys to ask us any questions that you might have. So this is your opportunity to ask us questions. I did notice that we did have something sent to us in the chat. I need a referral place to go to get some spend setting up towers on each of my pages. Willing to pay. Thanks for sending that over, Arthur. I will direct this to so Arthur over here is asking for help setting up chatbots, individual chatbots for each of his pages. And actually, this is something that our customer success managers can help you out with. So what I'm going to do, Arthur, is I'm going to connect you with one of our customer success folks. One of our actually maybe I'll connect you with one of our account folks or our customer success folks who can help walk you through this process and help you set up chatbots on these specific pages that you have. Really quick, I know that some of you might have to go. I do see that we have a couple of questions here. If you want to reach out to us, feel free to reach out to us through any of these methods that you're seeing on your screen right now. You can call us, message us, WhatsApp us on the number that you're seeing on your screen. Actually, I don't know if we still have WhatsApp running on this number. Might not be. Don't WhatsApp us. Just message us or call us on this number. Email me at arnav@hellotars.com or go to hellotars.com to book a demo with us or to just find out more information, interact with our page-specific chatbots to get the contextual information that you need to make a buying decision about using chatbots in your marketing campaigns. But I'm going to stop my screen share real quick so that I can share Arthur's email without exposing it to the entire world, and then we can jump into our questions, because we do have a couple already loaded up. Okay, Arthur, I have directed you to our customer success managers. They should reach out to you soon. First question we had was, is this going to be live on YouTube? We are in fact live on YouTube. I shared the YouTube link earlier in the chat. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to go to YouTube. Zoom takes a little bit of time to process the recording. So if you want to see the recording immediately after the webinar, if you want to share it with people immediately after the webinar, go to YouTube. Go to the link that I shared at the top of the chat. What I'll actually do is I will share it again in the chat over here. This is the YouTube link. You can go there. As soon as the webinar is done, it will it'll be up on YouTube. You can share it with your friends, family, colleagues, whoever you want to share it with. Yeah. Next question. Is there a list or resource with some of the best chatbots that have been made using TARS? Funny you should ask that, anonymous attendee. We actually have a chatbot template library on the TARS website. Let's actually go check it out right now, that you can use to okay, here we go. Chatbot templates. Yep, this is our chatbot template library. We have a curated set of, I think, 950 chatbots, free chatbot templates that you can use as a starting point. You can use information for your chatbots. They are divided by use case and by industry. So you can navigate to the specific chatbot that you want. So let's say we're looking for an insurance specific chatbot. You can jump into our chatbot templates. And thanks, Abhilash. My colleague Abhilash has shared a link to the chatbot templates page in the chat. So you can look at the web page that I am looking at right now. You can go into one of these chatbots. So let's say insurance lead generation. You can interact with the chatbot, which is cool, on the page once it loads in this frame over here. So yeah, see the chatbot loads directly on the page. You can interact with it, talk to it, see how it works, see if you like the flow. And then if you do like the flow, you can hit the use this template now button. And then when you hit the use this template now button, what it does is it'll open up your TARS account. It'll duplicate the chatbot flow into your TARS account. And then all you need to do is go through, change the specific text, change the branding, maybe change the colors a little bit, adjust the information so it's specific to your business, and then deploy it to your site. It makes the process of building a chatbot considerably easier. Answer alive. Thanks for this template page, but is there a list of ones from real customers that are live bots on real websites? Good question. We don't have that right now. I think the closest thing we have to that is if you go to our case studies page, you can check out the customers that we do have, and then go to their websites to see our chatbots in action. But this is a great idea. We should maybe have a page where we display these specific live deployments that you can actually go and interact with, interact with to see what it looks like in action, what it looks like in C2 or like on the actual page where it's interacting with customers. What I can do is for this webinar, what I'll do is I will share the UCI Mirage School of Business webpage with you guys in the chat, and you can use that to check out page specific chatbots in action. So I've shared it in the chat with you guys. What you need to do to see the page-specific chatbots is that under programs, their masters programs have the page-specific chatbots on them. That's where we've been using them for now. Might expand to the other programs as well, hopefully in the coming months, coming years. But they're on the masters. They're on the masters pages. If you go to, for example, Masters of Finance, as we saw, a chatbot will pop up in the bottom right corner to see what you are looking for. Any more questions? So far, none. I'm going to wait for maybe a couple of more minutes. Yeah, it's 9:47. We have about 13 minutes more scheduled for this. And then we can end this webinar in another couple of minutes. No questions so far. No questions so far. That's okay. That just means I did my job. I did my job well. Let me open up the contact page again in case any of you guys want to reach out to us. Otherwise, then I think we can end this webinar because I see some people streaming out. So I get the impression that you guys have had your questions answered. Reach out to us through any of these channels if you have questions after the webinar is done. We will be sending you a recording for this webinar after Zoom has processed it. But if you want to check it out immediately, go to the YouTube link that we shared in the chat. It will be live over there shortly after the webinar is over. But yeah, I think we can end the webinar over here. What's the time? 9:48. Yeah, I think we can end the webinar over here. I'm gonna really slowly close out. Oh, we have another message. We have another message. Oh, it's just Abhilash sharing the YouTube link. Oh, yeah. Also check out our upcoming webinars. Good catch. We have a bunch of webinars coming up this May. Be sure to check them out on our page. Abhilash has shared a link to the webinars page in the chat that you can check out, and the YouTube link to this video. But that's it for this webinar. Thank you guys for joining, and it's been